Start the morning right with a cup of Vinyl Tap. Nothing beats the refreshing taste of a hot, warm mug of Vinyl Tap. Enjoy your podcast in liquid form today. Vinyl Tap. Enjoy responsibly. Vinyl Tap.
This is Vinyl Tap. Hello, everybody. I'm Habibi.
Hey, so baby.
And he is also Habibi.
Thank you for joining us again. We have just listened to Egg Hunt. It's a self-titled couple of singles. There's Me and You and We All Fall Down.
There's 2 tracks.
And we're gonna have a little chat
Just the
about
2.
them. So this is definitely music that's close to my heart, and I feel like I've just inflicted it upon
Not at all.
my others here. So,
I'm
guys,
very
thoughts?
inflicted.
So-
You can start.
Okay, well, I know that I bring everything to Pink Floyd,
I thought it was Rush.
but in Me and You, there's that English mumbling in the background.
Yep.
That sounds exactly like, in, what is it? Which track is it? Great Gig in the Sky?
yeah,
stuff
there's
like
a few.
that.
Because
They've got
on
guys
this
talking
exact
in the background
point,
like this.
and the
fucking
reason I think
great.
I went more there than to Pink Floyd is Me and You is almost shoegaze without the effects. It's very wall of sound. Nothing's in the forefront, but it's just not wet. It's like a dry sound. And so that mumbling in the background just reminded me of Death Heaven, Ordinary Corrupt Human Love. And it obviously doesn't have the like death metal influence that does, but the shoegaze aspect of it was like, I was like, this isn't punk. This is just shoegaze without the effects.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of history. There's Ian Mackay and I can't remember the drummer's name, but they're in a band called Minor Threat, which is like full hardcore punk, kind of thrashy, whatever. And they like, after Minor Threat, wanted to do some post-hardcore, post-punk stuff. Went to London and recorded this shit. So it's like a lot of, I guess, tonal exploration and stuff and breaking free of
Yeah.
doing
It
that
definitely
kind of...
sounds like kind of defiant of punk tropes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is so
Minus the first song. The second song, I almost feel like we have to talk about them separately, and then like
Yes.
they make sense together, but they're not like a complete like theme where they run through the two. They're two individual things.
cool. Yeah, they are 2 singles. They're not an album.
Yeah.
But those temple blocks at the end of Me and You.
Yes. Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
fucking cool. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so after this, the singer, Ian, went and made a band called Fugazi. And
Yeah.
Fugazi is like, I don't know, did a whole bunch of really cool punk stuff, explored heaps of different sounds and did all that sort of stuff. And this is like the prototype
Yeah.
For that, okay.
for that. So they came up with a whole bunch of like, I don't know, just played around with sounds and tones and textures and
Yeah.
created some cool shit.
Like I said, the thing that really stood out to me was that there, especially in that first song, there was nothing in the forefront. It was all very level and very wall of soundy,
Yeah, yeah.
which is not what I was expecting, knowing that this was a punk album.
So what did you sort of expect then instead?
A lot.
Way harder.
Yeah, I guess like harder, more intense.
Yeah.
But also that punk vocals that we got in the second song.
Second song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, that was the only thing for me that really screamed punk about this was the vocals in the second track. Other than that, I think it was very... Like, I thought the instrumentation of the second track, now that we're here,
Yeah.
was like 90s grunge sound. Like maybe something like Silverchair.
Yeah?
And that's why I would have, without knowing that it was from the 80s, would have asked if it was from the 90s.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Kind of a path blazer for that kind of sound then.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
guess. And
Yeah.
it's not like I said, the vocals aren't the same, but the instrumentation sound, I was just like, this seems like it belongs in the 90s.
This, again, like same band members and stuff, a lot of them like pioneered the grunge scene, or like the emo
Right.
scene,
Yeah.
and pioneered all of those sounds that we would now kind of consider as the main,
90s.
yeah, like 90s
okay.
punk or whatever. They were just fucking around and
Trying shit out.
trying this
see
shit
what
out and
happens.
recording. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of this sort of stuff kind of stuck, which is kind of cool.
A quote that stuck out to me from our listening to that first song, Me and You, was at the end of it when Jason said, "That's okay," and that really was emblematic of the experience because that was okay. But I also paused. I was like, "Hang on a moment."
Yeah.
And then the second track really blindsided me. It hit me in the face with 3-part vocal harmony.
Which
See, when you said we're going to listen to a punk single from the mid '80s, you didn't say that, but I saw it. Why would I expect? Where's that coming from?
What do you
I
mean?
don't know. They're trying out so
also,
much stuff.
the vocal
great.
harmonies were like the most exposed thing. Everything else was, again, like at least 2 instruments kind of together, and the vocal harmonies are the only thing where it really strips back and changes the texture of what's going on in either of the songs.
This is what I really like about these 2 songs is that they're kind of like the second song especially. The vocals have kind of gone from just straight up yelling hardcore, just getting out all your anger, to trying to experiment with being a bit more melodic and not just screaming, but like
Well, here's my controversial opinion of at the end when they're singing "We All Fall Down." It made me think it was very Bono-like, U2, except Bono was just having a rough day and his throat was hoarse.
yeah, no, I
Like,
think that's a fair,
it was
that's
just
a fair
very
comment.
Bono.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before all of this stuff, like I don't know, a lot of dudes are just yelling.
Yeah.
And so if you try to kind of put any melody to this, it's sort of, it's not, look, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily great, but it's also, like it's weirdly expressive. It's like hardcore punk tried to, I don't know, play rock. Is the best way that I would try and put it. And I think
does
that's
sound like
super
that.
cool because it's sort of, I haven't really heard I guess it's
You're
a
saying punk
pioneer.
had an identity crisis.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
It's kind of a midlife crisis, like that era for punk, wasn't it?
Yeah, post-hardcore.
Yeah, it's like, hey, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Where do
So-
we go? And then we all know where they went.
Yes.
One thing, I just want to be able to say this, is Me and You. I feel like when it opens, it sounds like the opening theme to a love comedy drama starring Jim Carrey. And it's such a specific, but every time I hear it, I can just imagine
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
Like
like
listlessly smiling
Yes.
at
My-
some blonde bimbo in
I
the...
don't know. My notes on this were like chill drums, which is not what you would expect from it. Like, I think that's also the intensity of the drums in this is not what I would have expected from a punk.
punk.
I liked
Yeah.
how the main riff had 2 notes. That was cool. Like, you don't expect that. You expect something to be very dense.
Mm.
That's what
Like,
I think of.
And moving a lot as
Yeah.
well, like a lot
Whereas
of
that riff
movement.
was like budum, but it's just going between 2 E's and there's an A in the end there. But it
Yeah.
was just very like little material, but they did stuff with it, you know.
Yeah.
I also like the chorus was D-A-E, just going down the cycle, but it had that kind of cashmere chromaticism.
Yes,
that it was so cool. I
And
love that.
A lot of this.
I knew you'd like that.
If you want to sort of see how this all develops, definitely check out Fugazi because this is like they do heaps with a little. So you grab something really simple, and we've actually done this before. Where I was like, Tim, holy shit, I can't work out this thing, and you're like, oh, dude, that's just 3 notes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like what? But they will have super simple, just I don't know, 3 or 4 notes.
That's right. You called me in a panic.
I did,
And I was like, just come over to my house and I'll see what I can do about it.
Yeah.
And it was done in 2 minutes. And
Yeah.
then we just chilled out. For
and
the rest
often
of it. It
it's
was
just
good.
it's just like a few notes, a little bit of a sort of a chromatic feel, and it just invokes so much with so little.
I
think it's
wrote
dope.
of the first song, Me and You, this is playlist material. The other albums we've talked about today, you wouldn't put in a playlist. You listen to the album, I think.
mean, it depends because I would have like metal playlists, and
Right.
the first album it'd have to be, it'd be like a Dark Side of the Moon. It has to
you
be
have to listen
in
to
order.
Days of Future
You could
Past.
put
Yeah.
Nights.
Yeah, you can put Nights in White
in-
Satin as the single on a playlist, but then that's fine. But nothing else from it would really
What
work.
kind of playlist are we talking? Are we
I
talking
think
like
we
playlist
should
like
say
us,
this.
or are we talking like playlist like?
We should say
I mean, like
this.
a road trip playlist. I could put Me and You on and be like, oh, cool, Me and You's on. And just keep driving, you know?
Yeah, because I feel like that's a very interesting point because this is like a punk song from the mid '80s,
Right.
and
When
you-
people living in vans driving around was a pretty it's in its heyday.
in its heyday,
Yeah.
But also, it's like not something you would expect. I don't know. You wouldn't be like, oh yeah, just chuck that on the playlist. That's easy listening.
Yeah. Well, it was. I loved it.
Well, thoughts, summaries?
I am very surprised that this is still technically punk.
Yeah.
Is my kind of like summary thought on this.
I mean, look, it might not be, and I've got a lot of angry people. I apologize.
Like calling this punk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Punk. Well, it happens with every genre, doesn't it? Where you
Mm.
say, "Oh yeah, this is prog." And, no, it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Call it
genres
what-
are like loosely defined boundaries at
I
best.
mean, I know for a fact that the guys who did this had just come out of like hardcore punk. That's just the sound.
Right.
And then the next things that they moved into were definitely a lot more punk sounding. So it's kind of
hard not to say that this is punk.
it can't be punk, but
Yeah.
I also don't know what it sounds like because it's sort of
Like I said, for me, it's very shoegaze with no effects.
We'll call it. We'll settle on J-pop for now and figure it out later.
Sounds
okay?
good.
Wonderful.